So here's the cosmic plot twist, Taurus. After a whole season of having everyone and their emotions up in your energy field, June shows up like, hey, you can breathe now. It's not dramatic, it's not even loud, but that's exactly why it works. June opens with a slow, grounded vibe, a return to your pace, not the one you've been forced to sprint in since eclipse season, through your calendar, bank balance, and self-worth into a spiritual blender. Now, it's all about calibration. From the jump, Venus and Mercury are traveling together through your second house, aka the zone you rule. Resources, value, what you build, what you're worth, and what you're no longer willing to discount just to keep the peace. This is where your magic starts to compound. Every small move in early June has consequences, the good kind. That one email you finally send, it opens a door. That quiet no you say on June 6th, it sets a new energetic boundary. That purchase you delayed for 6 months because you're being responsible, turns out it was the key to making your entire workflow feel 40% easier. Then comes the turning point. June 11th, the new moon in Gemini. It hits your financial zone, but this time it's not just about cash. It's about capacity. You're not chasing more. You're building smarter, slower, stronger. And as we cross the mid-month mark, the tone softens even more. The sun moves into Cancer on June 20th. Mercury follows, and suddenly your third house of communication and daily rituals lights up. What used to feel forced now feels fluid. The work gets easier. The decisions feel natural, and your brain, surprisingly clear. But here's the real kicker of June. Nothing needs to explode for something real to shift. This month is all about momentum without noise. No fireworks, no burnout. Just a steady reclaiming of power. You're not being dramatic, you're being decisive. And finally, the world starts to reflect that back to you. Let's be honest, Taurus. You've had enough emotional acrobatics lately to last the next 2 Mercury retrogrades. The drama? Exhausting. The confusion? Done. What you want now, what you need, isn't a grand gesture. It's clarity. And that's exactly what June delivers. Right out of the gate, Venus, your planetary ruler, is posted up in your second house, linked arm in arm with Mercury, which means the energy in your relationships shifts from, do they like me, to do they match my value system? Not sexy at first glance, maybe, but it's wildly powerful, because suddenly, love isn't just about chemistry. It's about consistency. In early June, you start noticing where your energy feels matched. The text gets returned. The plans get followed through. And best of all, you're not playing emotional translator anymore. The right people just get you. The wrong ones, they feel loud, demanding, confusing, and they start phasing themselves out without a fight. Around June 6th, a boundary moment lands. Maybe you say no to an ex who suddenly got nostalgic. Maybe you don't laugh off the offhanded comment that used to make you shrink. Maybe you just start telling the truth in real time instead of buffering it for comfort. It's subtle, but the energetic shift, massive. And then on June 11th, the new moon in Gemini asks you to plant a seed, not in someone else, in your own worth. This is where you stop chasing potential and start choosing reality, where you realize that someone showing up with consistency, softness, and shared values is not boring. It's the baseline, and anything less is just not it. For coupled Taurus folks, this month is an invitation to reroute, not in big statements or forced intimacy, but in the micro moments, the way they pour your coffee, the way they hold your gaze when you're rambling, the way they let you take your time. This is how you remember why it works. And if it doesn't work, you'll know, gently, firmly, with zero need to burn it down. That's what makes this month different. You're no longer staying for comfort that comes at the cost of your peace. By the time the sun slips into Cancer on June 20th, the love you want isn't a whirlwind, it's a landing pad. Someone you can talk to about your credit score and your dreams. Someone who doesn't need a spotlight to see you clearly. Taurus, June won't give you a movie plot, it'll give you something better. A connection that lives in the quiet, where love isn't loud, but it's solid, and that is what lasts. Let's talk work, Taurus, not in the hustle harder way. You've been there, you've done that. What you're craving now isn't more accolades, it's alignment. And June delivers it in the most Taurus way possible, slowly, steadily, and without shouting. From the top of the month, your focus shifts from pushing to prioritizing. Mercury and Venus tag-teaming your second house means your energy is directed at what actually pays you back. That could be literal money, but it's also about attention, time, mental bandwidth. If it drains more than it delivers, your spirit starts to auto-unsubscribe. And around June 6th, you get a professional wake-up call. Subtle, but potent. Maybe it's a project that suddenly feels like a dead end. Maybe someone else takes credit for work you carried. Maybe you realize the thing you've been building isn't feeding your curiosity anymore. That discomfort, it's not a crisis, it's a compass. Then comes the new moon on June 11th, lighting up your value sector. This is your green light to rebrand, renegotiate, or even restart. But not because you're restless, because you finally feel ready. Ready to be seen as the expert, not the intern. Ready to stop explaining your value and just embody it. If you've been waiting to launch, pitch, or shift your offer, mid-June is golden, but not for the loud rollout, for the intentional one. The strategy that doesn't just impress, it lands. And as Cancer season kicks in around June 20th, your energy turns internal. This is when you streamline, systematize, maybe even scale back to scale forward. You realize the real flex isn't doing everything. It's doing only what matters most. By month's end, your work life may not look radically different on the outside, but inside, you're no longer negotiating your energy just to fit someone else's mold, because you finally know what you build when you're grounded is what lasts the longest. Taurus, you're known for being grounded, practical, unshakable, but let's get honest. How much of that has been performance lately? June doesn't come for your outer world. It comes for your inner calibration. And it starts by asking, when did you stop listening to yourself? For the past few months, you've been managing, coping, performing strength so well, even you started to believe it. But deep beneath the structure, there's been static, a low hum of anxiety that doesn't quite name itself, a feeling that you're doing everything right and still feeling off. June wants you to pause. The first few days, you may notice this as fatigue, not just tiredness, but a resistance to your own rhythm. You're overbooked, overstimulated, and undernourished. Your soul's been eating granola bars in the hallway while your ego ran the meeting. And now, she's asking for a seat at the table. Around June 7th to 8th, expect a mirror moment. It might come through a random conversation, a journal entry, a line from a podcast that hits like a personal drag. Something subtle cracks open, and suddenly you can't pretend the stress is just situational. It's structural, it's deeper. But instead of spiraling, you get clear. Because this time, the voice inside you isn't whispering, you're actually listening. You start clocking where your time doesn't reflect your values, where your schedule honors urgency more than joy, where you've been too polite to your burnout. This is where the magic happens. The new moon in Gemini on June 11th gives you the reset button, not by blowing things up, but by realigning your default settings. Your thoughts slow, your sleep deepens, your instincts sharpen. It's not a retreat, it's a return. Return to what makes sense, to what makes peace, to what makes you feel like yourself again. And as the sun enters Cancer on June 20th, that inner softness becomes your superpower. You begin choosing based on how things feel, not how they perform. You say no without apologizing. You rest without guilt. You stop editing your discomfort to make others comfortable. Because now, you know the difference between resilience and self-abandonment. Taurus, this chapter isn't loud, it's not dramatic, but it's foundational. It's the quiet decision to stop betraying yourself for stability. To trust that inner peace isn't a luxury, it's a requirement. And the moment you honor that, everything else starts making sense again. Money. The thing everyone wants to talk about in theory, but no one wants to actually feel in their body. Taurus, you feel it. Deeply. Always have. You don't just think about cash flow. You track the temperature of every financial decision through your nervous system. Not because you're obsessed, because you've learned, probably the hard way, that money isn't just numbers, it's safety. And June, it wants to upgrade your entire relationship to that safety. Right from the jump, Venus and Mercury are cruising through your second house, tuning your attention to value creation, not just income generation. You begin to notice where your worth has been conflated with output, where you've been measuring your success by how much you can prove rather than how much you actually receive. That shifts now. Around June 6th to 7th, a quiet but potent money moment lands. Maybe you land a gig that reflects your growth. Maybe you finally raise your rates. Or maybe you look at your bank statement and feel calm for the first time in a while. Not because you won the lottery, but because you finally trust yourself to manage what's there. Then, the new moon on June 11th drops a financial seed in fresh soil. This isn't about chasing. It's about building. You get clear on what you're done spending on, literally and energetically. The subscriptions, the habits, the people, the obligations. You start putting your time and attention where the return is tangible, not theoretical. It's also a beautiful window to invest, with intention, not impulsively, not out of desperation, but because something aligns so clearly with your growth, your body relaxes around the decision. A class, a system, a team member, an upgrade, something that doesn't just cost, it contributes. And as Cancer season kicks off on June 20th, your third house lights up, bringing conversations around sustainability. You may find yourself talking finances more directly, with a partner, a coach, even a sibling. These convos feel different, less loaded, more empowered. Because now you're not performing stability, you're living it. By month's end, you stop viewing money as a finish line and start treating it as a frequency. Something you regulate by your own pace, your own rhythm, your own definition of enough. Taurus, this is your season of energetic wealth, the kind where you're not just rich in resources, you're rich in peace. Here's the secret Taurus rarely tells out loud. Home isn't just where you hang your hat. It's where your nervous system goes to unclench. And if you've been feeling not quite held lately, even inside your own space, this month starts reworking that from the ground up. Early June sets the tone. You're not just looking at your space. You're feeling it. Suddenly that chair that always hurts your back is unbearable. That temporary setup from 2 years ago, still temporary, and your body knows it. The clutter isn't just annoying, it's static. You start to crave flow, clean lines, spaces that feel like exhaling. It's not about aesthetics, it's about alignment. This theme deepens after June 11th's new moon. With your second house still lit and third house warming up, you begin to ask real questions about where you live and why. Do you feel safe here? Do you feel seen? Does your home support your rhythm or sabotage it? You're not asking for HGTV fantasy. You're asking for functionality that respects your spirit. And around June 20th, as the sun enters Cancer, your communication zone gets lit. But so does your emotional clarity around what home means now. Maybe it's a physical move. Maybe it's just moving furniture. Maybe it's a boundary you place inside your space, so your energy stops leaking out. This might also be when you acknowledge that some people who live in your home don't support your peace. Conversations get real, but this time, you're not reactive. You're rooted. You're no longer tolerating proximity that costs you presence. It's also when you realize safety isn't just about locking the door. It's about feeling free inside your own life, to make noise, to be quiet, to cry without explaining, to dance without commentary, to exist in a space that mirrors your inner calm, not disrupts it. So yes, organize the cabinets, repaint the wall, turn off your phone after 7 p.m., build a space that doesn't just look cozy on Instagram, but feels like a sanctuary when no one's watching. Because Taurus, you're not asking for a dream home. You're creating a home where your dreams can actually rest. There's something magical that happens when a Taurus who's been focused, stable, and wildly responsible suddenly feels the tug of wonder, of curiosity, of that deep cellular need to go somewhere new, even if it's just to remember a version of themselves that didn't check their calendar before saying yes. That's what June delivers in its final stretch. Around June 24th to 30th, a portal opens. Not in the sky, but in your curiosity. Maybe it's an invite to a short trip, a last-minute booking that feels impulsive in the best way. Maybe it's a workshop that lights you up, a long phone call with someone from another coast, a podcast that cracks your worldview open a little more. It's not always about passports. Sometimes it's about perspective. And the truth is, Taurus, you've earned this expansion, not because you've been good, but because your spirit is ready. You've done the work, cleaned the house, rebalanced the bank account, set the boundaries. Now, it's time to remember what it feels like to follow fascination. This final chapter isn't about performance, it's about play. It's where you allow yourself to be inspired again, by nature, by strangers, by strange cities, and the way new streets make your brain breathe differently. For some of you, travel this month becomes a reset button. For others, it becomes a future vision, a glimpse of the kind of life you're allowed to want, one where your energy isn't always on, where rest doesn't feel like a guilty secret, where joy isn't a reward, it's the damn routine. So take the trip, book the weird Airbnb, sign up for the thing, call the friend who makes you laugh until your face hurts. Go where your soul expands, not contracts. Because Taurus, this isn't an escape. It's a return to your natural rhythm, to your own magic, to the vastness of your own imagination. And that little itch you feel at the edge of your calendar, that's not restlessness. That's readiness.